This is the Knockout Nut here, doing my full card predictions for UFC 325, Volkanovski versus Lopez 2. Up first, we got Aaron Tao versus Namzray Bayar. Um, Aaron Tao is 5'4", 135, with 66 reach. He's a switch stance fighter. He's 32 years old. Namzray Batbayer is 5'4" also. He's listed at 125, so I guess he's going to be gaining 10 pounds for this fight, fighting at 135 with 68-inch reach. He fights orthodox style, and he is 25 years old. Aaron Tao is 32. Uh, Aaron Tao trains at City Kickboxing with Israel Adesanya, Dan Hooker, Kai Kara France. Kind of a historic place down there in the land down under. Um, and those guys know how to mix it up. Yeah, but him as a fighter himself, he stays very measured, consistently feints, pressures, calf kicks a lot, keeps moving forward. In the first rounds, I've seen in some of his fights, he gets his range and reads, and then in the second round, he picks up the pace a lot. He starts throwing like a really he starts moving his feints with his hips a little bit more, start trying to sell him a little bit, picking up the pace, trying to get people to react a little bit more so he can make moves off of the reads that he saw in the first round. Defensively, he's pretty decent. He does take a little bit of a beating sometimes. He keeps his hands a little low, but he is the type of fighter that likes to bite down on his mouthpiece and go to war. So there is definitely no problem in that category. Other than the fact that sometimes you get hit and it just connects a little too nicely. Um, but he's got very, very quick jabs, powerful punches. Just walks on a center line, really. He doesn't really move side to side. He kind of walks you down. So if you keep backing up and keep the jab and keep your distance, you'll be able to keep a little bit of space from him. But he tends to jump in there, and if he's ready to go, he goes. Like, it doesn't matter what's coming his way. He tends to throw with no regard. Um, he only has one loss on his record, and that was at Dana White's Contender Series, which apparently he was showboating in the first round a little bit and found out he was losing, or you know, they told him he was losing in the corner, and then apparently went to work in the second round and started really coming back. I didn't get to see clips of that or any of the footage, but he did get submitted in the end, so it ended up being a loss on his record. But he did get good looks and good marks after it. Not great, but decent enough. On the other hand, Namzray Bapayer, he's definitely a stand-up guy also. He's got a decent ground game, but it's not great. Uh, Not the best takedowns, really. That's where his ground game lacks. Like, once he gets down there, he's okay. He knows what he's doing. He's got pretty good submissions in his bag, but just getting down to the ground is pretty. It's just not pretty. He's very patient on the feet, and he cuts off the angles as opposed to Aaron Tua. He tends to try and move a little bit west and east rather than just north south. Um, the thing is, though, he keeps his hands pretty low and he punches from the hip, so his defense lacks. And when he throws with everything he's got. So the longer the fight goes on, the higher the probability he gasses out, and the higher probability he gasses out, that means his defense is going to start lacking even more, and then it's just it's just it's not a good situation from there. And because of those reasons, I'm leaning towards Aaron Tua for that fight. Also, his intimidation factor just before the bell even rings is up to 11 because he has, I believe it's called a Mataora tattoo on his face. So you see that thing, and I would be trembling. It would have me second guessing my job if I was walking into that thing and seeing him standing there like that. Um, but since I believe that this fight is mostly going to be on the feet, it's definitely going to go to man who has more power, and I definitely believe that that is in Tua's corner. He's got 7 knockouts out of 11 wins, so I definitely believe that it's leaning more that way personally. Next fight is Sula Rangbo versus Lawrence Louis. Sula Rangbo is 5'9", 135 with a 66-inch reach. He's a southpaw, and he is 20 years old, which is pretty insane. Lawrence Louis is 5'7", 135, 72-inch reach. He is an orthodox fighter, and he is 29 years old, so he is 9 years older than Sula Rangbo, and he has a 6-inch reach advantage too. Sula Rangbo is a powerful striker. He's got very smart combos the way he fights. He definitely has a very strong fight IQ, and his footwork is very precise because it seemed like every angle he was taking, he could throw a punch or something from where he was standing, which was it was extremely impressive to watch in the few fights that I saw. Um, he pressures constantly, throws really good combos, switches up his targets, and the way that he's throwing the punches also, so that he goes at different angles, at different targets, in multiple punch combos, throws kicks in there too. Wrestling defense is pretty on point. He has good cardio, quick feet. He fought his first professional fight at like 15 or 16 years old. Lost the first two, won the next one, and then got knocked out at like 17, 18. And since that, he's been on an absolute tear. And even though he is 9 years younger than Lawrence Louis, he has more experience fighting in like a professional environment. Because believe Lawrence Louis has only fought like 8 or 9 times, and Sula Rangbo has fought around 13, 14. But Lawrence Louis is 5'7", so 2 inches shorter. 135, 72. I already said this. Yeah. Fights in it's like a square-shouldered kickboxing stance. So like his right and his left are both right there, and he just picks whichever one he wants to throw based off of which angle is working the best and where he can fit his strike in. Um, he is a he pressures extremely heavy during the fight, which is pretty confusing because I would assume that he would have such a high reach advantage over most of his opponents that he would want to keep the fight a little bit further back so that he can just, kind of piece him up from a distance. But he brings it right into the scrum, and he sits there, throws stiff straight punches and elbows, throws knees, he's extremely good at dirty boxing. Um, Feints a lot, which is really good. I think he has 100% takedown defense, which is you know not too shabby. Obviously, his wrestling has definitely got to improve. You know, it's not terrible, but it's not there. I think he trains at City Kickboxing also, just like Aaron Tao with Adesanya and Dan Hooker and all them. So those guys when they go to train, those they throw hands there. They don't train easy, and I just don't know exactly what type of groundwork that they're doing in preparation for fights, along with the striking that they do down there. But I will say he is very big for 135, like almost too big. Like he's had problems in a few of his fights leading up to this, like cutting weight and the amount that he has to do, and then putting the weight back on the next 2 days. Like obviously, you get a decent amount of energy back, but if you keep doing that and you're just overly depleting yourself, at some point, it's going to be very hard to come back from. So I'll definitely be looking at how he looks on Thursday when they weigh in, because obviously Cameron Smotherman at 324, like he passed out on the scale because, going down to 135 is not easy. And he is a much smaller human being than Lawrence Louis is. Not, smaller, but just like Lawrence Louis has a lot of muscle mass on him. So it would I feel like it would be it would just be a little bit more difficult for a man of his size because he's more of a. It's almost like he's McGregor's size, just fighting 20 pounds, like 10 pounds under what McGregor normally would have. It's actually pretty interesting. So I would assume that if he does get into the UFC and has any success, at some point he will move up to probably the 145 division. Um, I will say though, in his first fight in Road to the UFC, he got dropped twice. Once in the first round, after I think it was one or two punches, it was within 5 to 10 seconds of the fight, and then he got dropped again in the second round. But then his opponent threw an illegal knee while he was on the ground, got deducted a point, and he ended up winning that fight. But it was definitely a hard fought victory. Like the fact that he was standing in the third round, like he's definitely got a chin on him. Um, but he did get dropped twice, so you can only take so many of those punches until you can't get up, and that's one of the reasons I believe that Sula Rangbo is just going to take it. He does have a 6 inch reach disadvantage, which is going to make it a little bit tough to get into the clinch, and not into the clinch, but into your range. But the way that Lawrence Louis fights, he doesn't really fight from a distance. He tries to move forward. So as long as he can keep moving on the outside and stay like pretty active, and then just jump in, throw in a nice combination, back out. So Lawrence Louis can never get into his range, which is like the fence, his opponent, and then him. Like that's what he wants. He wants nothing in between basically the three of them. And if you keep him in space, he'll keep chasing you. And if he keeps chasing you, you could just keep adding up strikes, and then that just adds up over time. So yeah, I definitely have Sula. I definitely personally have Sula Rangbo winning that fight, but because of the extremely long reach advantage that Lawrence Louis has, I would not be surprised that if he was advancing in and threw a strike, he catches Sula Rangbo on the chin, and then it's good night moon. That's just that's a part of the fight business. But in my parlay, I will have Rangbo. Up next, we have Sebastian Saleh versus Kichiro Nakamura. Sebastian Saleh, 5'6", buck 45, 66 inch reach. They had him listed as an orthodox, but he is a switch stance fighter. He is super quick on his feet. Like when he advances, it's split second. Blitzes into the pocket, delivers combos. He has a crazy good front kick. Uh, good wrestling defense. He's a purple in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, purple belt, which is, and I'm sure he's trying to keep moving up the ladder, but that's definitely up there. And the most impressive part about him is he's a karate black belt, which he was doing all of his life up until I believe 22, and then he started training MMA and became like a professional at like 24, 25. And then he's been progressing in other aspects of the game um, extremely fast, which is very impressive. So you can tell that he has a very high fight IQ because he's just been doing it for so long, and he is a very good defensively. Uh, great, good power. It's impressive. Accurate shots. Has a good chin. Taken a few and fallen, but I think for the most part he's gotten back up. And he has a great gas tank. He does not tire out. I believe he's already fought like 5 rounds in I forgot what it's called in Australia, but yeah. But the karate black belt, that's a pretty interesting thing because Joe Rogan always talked about that. He said he always thought that one of the most powerful fighters would be a fighter that understood karate and knew how to use that front leg high kick on both sides while also having, good defense on the ground and good wrestling, which he has. Like his skill set is extremely impressive. He is a very exciting fighter to watch, and all the stuff that like all the fights that I watched from him when he was coming up, he was he was it was just extremely impressive because you would just be watching him, and then like he'd be on the outside moving, and then in a split second notice, he's inside throwing haymakers, and then he's back out and he's on a different angle, moving, gets himself set, and then he just keeps waiting on the outside, keeps throwing those kicks. But if you're not looking, he'll throw one of those front high kicks, and it will slap you on the jaw, and that would be that's one of those Instagram knockouts, and that's a $50,000 of $100,000 knockout now, I guess. Um, yeah, I gotta look up how the bonuses work. They did write something about it. Well, whatever. Kichiro Nakamura. He is 5'10", 145, 70-inch reach, so he's got a 4-inch advantage over Soleil there. Southpaw fighter, but he is 37 years old, which is pretty crazy. He fought his first professional fight at 32, 33. And Dana White doesn't really sign people that are above 30, realistically. Like, even if you watch the Contender Series, like, there was a guy last year who was Canadian. He was like 36, and he knocked the guy out, I believe, in a round or two. But Dana White even made a comment about it because he was like, I don't love signing guys that are your age, because, you only have so much room where you can really operate. And then, like, it's getting to the point where you can't do it anymore. But, yeah, he's 37. Feint heavy, continuously circles left, looking for a liver kick that he has. Good footwork, jumps in and out of his range a lot. Powerful punches, lethal knees, great kicks. Throws on the button too. Distributes the strikes pretty well. Displays a pretty good fight IQ. Good counter puncher with a lot of great strikes in his bag. Thing is, his hands are low and his chin is high, and he takes hits. And he doesn't have the best takedown defense. So if Soleil does manage to blitz in there and clip him a few times, get him, wobbly, maybe if he's just chopping at the front leg and takes him down, I believe that this fight is leaning more towards Soleil and his skill set, even though that he is a smaller fighter and he has the lower reach. I believe that he's had this problem before. And, he's come out on the other side. He has a lot of great avenues that he could take with his game that, can deliver him a victory, and then some other streets that he could definitely take that would deliver him a much better victory. But, any guy that trains with Volkanovski, he can stand and bang. And, a 37-year-old fighter who fought his first professional fight at 32, 33, like, yeah, he definitely has some good fight IQ, but a guy who's been fighting his entire life, I'm gonna take that guy 10 times out of 10 personally. Yeah, so I got Soleil in this one. And up next, we have Sang-Woo Kim versus Dom Morfan. Sang-Woo Kim, 6 foot, 155, 71-inch reach, Orthodox fighter. Dom Morfan, 5'11", 155 with a 75 reach, and also an Orthodox fighter. Sang-Woo Kim, takedown threat, does damage on both the feet and the ground. Fluid on both the feet and the ground. Patient, smart about his moves. Good fight IQ. Good ground IQ. Decent, not bad fight IQ, but I wouldn't say it's like anything crazy. Pressures constantly, throws punches into takedowns, which is good. If you're that type of fighter, which he is. Good hard kicks, evenly distributed. He has a pretty lethal crucifix, so if he gets you in that, you're going to be having a rough day. He does keep his hands pretty low, which, is not great and leaves you open to countering, especially if you run in there like he does and throw from the hip, which he does sometimes. And he has already fought a UFC fighter and lost to him, being Rong Zhu in the road to the UFC. I believe it was like season 2. And he fought him and lost unanimous decision. So that at least he can hang up to 15 minutes with some UFC talent. And then on the other hand, Dom Morfan, I said this. Good wrestling takedowns and transitions are good too. He is pretty good striking defense. His dirty boxing is pretty exceptional in my opinion. Um, and he is dirty ground and pound, which obviously coincides with that. Brown belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Striking has improved a lot in every fight that he's has gone. Like every fight he's continued into his career, he's made progressions, and it's you could definitely see it. Like he from like the I don't know which one I've watched first, but it like let's say it was the fourth or fifth fight, third. He was rushing a little bit, making a few moves that like necessarily if he had a few more fights, under his belt, he probably wouldn't be making those moves. And as he continued to fight down the road, he stopped making some of those mistakes and has continued to definitely make improvements in all facets of his game. He has 2 losses on his record, and both losses are to the same person, being Quillian Salkid, which I will be talking about pretty soon because he's on the main card in this fight. Anybody that is watching UFC pretty regularly would recognize that name and know that he is a pretty dirty fighter. And on the feet, he throws pretty hard, and I did not know that his ground game was as high as level as it was, but I did learn that through the research. But both fights, Dalmar Fan lost by submission. The first fight, they went to the third round. The second fight, they went to the second round. The second fight, the first round, Dalmar Fan took him down and was holding him down there basically the entire time. Made a bad move, and then Salkid had a submission from the bottom, and I think he rode out the clock. And then in the second round, I think Salkid hit him with a front kick, the same one he hit Harquist with. And then Dalmar Fan fell over from there, and once he fell over, Salkid got on top of him. He was hanging in, though. Like, I will say, the guy's got a good chin. Like, he's definitely tough, Sometimes he just didn't have very good strike recognition in that fight, and I believe going forward, I hadn't seen his 2 road to the UFC fights, but apparently one of them he was an underdog, I think, and he just was hanging in there the entire time. The guy hadn't lost yet, I believe, and had like 9 knockouts on his record, and Dalmar Fan took him to the bell and won. I think he scored a knockdown on that fight too. Yeah, so personally, I'm going to have Dalmar Fan money line on that one. I think he'll be able to stand with Kim if they're standing. If not, he'll take him down and get to work there, just start doing some damage. I think the level of competition that Dalmar Fan has fought up until this point has been higher than the level of competition Sang-Woo Kim has fought up until this point. So I definitely am gonna have to give the edge to Dalmar Fan. I think either way the fight goes, if it stays on the feet, he'll be able to hang and hang well. If it goes to the ground, he'll definitely be able to do some work there. So yeah. And up next we have Khan Ofli versus Yiza. Khan Ofli, 5'7", $145.5, 66-inch reach with a 37-inch leg reach. Orthodox fighter. He's tough, definitely. He's fought 2 hard fights in the UFC. Good striking defense. He has some power, good counters. Switches stances. Switches stances, so he's not orthodox. Pressures, feints, kicks, good takedown defense. All around, he is a good fighter. He's just not a standout fighter in any it's kind of tough because the 2 fights that he did fight, one being Marlon Santos, who ended up moving up a weight class anyway, so he was huge when he fought him, and he just had a really tough time with him. And then Ofli fought somebody else after it. I don't remember if he lost or not. Check that very quickly. Oh, then he fought Naimov after Marlon Santos. Yes, and he lost that fight by decision also. That was what I was thinking of. So both those fights, he got overwhelmed. Um, he had a few good moments in both of the fights, but like the thing is, a few good moments doesn't win you the match. You gotta you gotta do consistent stuff, and sometimes when he has a hard time getting into his range and his reach and his like his game, and he gets stalled, he just ends up sitting there on the outside, and he just starts thinking a lot. It just seems like, and he's trying to figure out what to do. And the more time you figure out what to do, you're just taking up clock, and then you're wasting your own time, which just is not a good, not a beneficial thing for him. Yiza is 5'7", also, buck 45, 70.5 inch reach, so he's got 4.5 inches on Ofli there, 36.5 leg reach, and he is an orthodox fighter. He's got hard punches, got a good chin. He's fought a lot, I believe, and he's fought some tough fights in the UFC. Good wrestling off of his back. He has some submissions there, which are not easy to come by. But the way that he was pretty quick about it. He saw the guy making a move, saw an opening, and just pulled. And then at that point, that guy was just in way too deep that it was over with. And on the feet, he moves a lot, feint heavy, and then also on the feet, he's takedown heavy, spams those things. He's not a very accurate striker, but he has a pretty high output, so he connects sometimes. Pretty good footwork. Yeah, this fight's a little. This fight, I find it a little tough. I ended up leaning towards Yiza because of the 4.5 inch reach advantage. I just think that that's going to be a little bit too much for Khan to deal with, especially with his output. And then if Khan's going to be sitting back and figuring out what to do, and then Yiza takes him down and he holds him down for that, like a little bit, he wins the round. And then also he's got powerful punches and he's pretty tough. So even if Khan hits him with something, I believe that he gets back up and, he'll put out more stuff on the scorecard, or he'll have just hit him with a harder punch, and then Khan will drop. Yeah. So I personally I have it going that way. I don't. I was 50-50 about this for a little while though. This one took me like a day and a half to like think about for some reason. I don't know why. So if Khan wins, I wouldn't be surprised, but I have Iza myself. Up next, we got Jonathan Milikev versus Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott, 6 foot, 170, 72-inch reach, 41 leg reach. He's an orthodox fighter. Uh, he likes to stay on the outside, and he kind of picks you. I would say pick you apart, but he's kind of like a point fighter. So like, it's not like picking you apart, but it is kind of like he's just not very. He's active, but he's not active. He doesn't take chances. If he can stay on the outside, or take you down, or just do something and just score on the card and deliver a win, I think he's pretty happy. And because of that, he's decent everywhere. He does, yeah, like I said, he's just no real standouts in his game. Um, he's got one pretty nice knockout over Basil Hafez. But Basil Hafez doesn't really throw a lot of leg kicks and just kind of walks forward. So he was just standing back, kept doing his thing throughout the 3 rounds. I believe he was taking him down too, and then just had enough damage on him that one time he just kept walking forward, just threw the perfect right hand, just connects, and you're walking home with a nice knockout. But I don't know if I see that happening against Jonathan Milikev. He's 6 foot, 170, 77-inch reach, 44 leg reach, southpaw. He's comfortable fighting everywhere. Just kick heavy from the outside. Good takedowns, good combos with his kicks also. Stays pretty measured, good defense, doesn't rush. If it does go to the ground, he's got very good transitions. And those guys down there, they they train that stuff pretty hard. They train pretty good everywhere. But on the feet, he definitely can throw. He can throw some bombs, and yeah, I don't think Oban Elliott. I think this is more just a showing for Jonathan Milikev. I think he's coming off his. I think this is his second UFC fight after Contender Series, which he had a crazy submission. Uh, yeah, he should be. This should be a cakewalk. If this ends up being a difficult fight, I would be pretty surprised. Oban just fought a guy pretty similar to him, and he was struggling a little bit. So I see that happening again this time. Yeah. So up next we got Torres Finney versus Jacob Malkoun. Malkoun. I don't. He is going down in weight. He was a light heavyweight, and now he's fighting at 185 at middleweight. He's 5'9", 73-inch reach, 38-inch leg reach. Orthodox fighter. He steps forward, feints into takedowns, low takedown defense. But if he is the advancing party, he's pretty heavy on the takedowns himself. You know, just goes for control time. He's decent hands, not very active though, so you know, there's really not a lot to say about him. I don't know. I couldn't really find a lot of footage. I found a okay amount, but not as much as I would have liked to comment on his strengths and weaknesses. But that's what I saw. Torres Finney, on the other hand, not on the other hand, it's basically the same hand. These guys are pretty similar fighters. He's 5'8", 186, 75.5-inch reach, 39 leg reach, orthodox, very, very heavy on the takedowns. Every time I've watched him, it's been a 15-minute bout with his hand getting raised at the end. And then you look at the stats, and he's got like 6 takedowns of 16 shot. And that's kind of what he does. He's got okay boxing, but he just kind of uses it to get close, get on the clinch, get you to the fence. When he gets you to the fence, get his hands locked. I think he played football, so he's a very strong individual. So if he gets close to you and he gets his hands locked, he'll pick you up. And if he picks you up, he's putting you down. So, once he gets you down there, it's just grounding out clock. Does a little bit of damage and seeks to do damage, but if you keep moving, he keeps moving with you. So then it just ends the round, start on the feet again, and then he just tries to end up in that position again, which is why I have Finney money line. I have this as a 15-minute fight with 10 minutes of control time, 6 or 7 takedowns, like I said, of 16 shot. And I would say probably 20 to 30 strikes thrown on both sides. I wouldn't. This fight, there's no chance that this fight is on the feet. I took a shot at who's going to be the one taking him down. I just think that the way that Torres Finney fights, he's pretty aggressive with it, and he's also strong. So if Jacob Malkoun does do the shooting, I think that his defense will be pretty strong, and I think he's yet to be shot on, so I hope his defense is pretty strong. But if not, he should be more than strong enough on the ground to make some moves and get out of a bad position if he's in it. If not, I would be pretty surprised. But we'll see. The odds makers have this as Torres Finney as the underdog, which I think is pretty interesting. So that's I think that's free money in my opinion. Yeah. So next fight we got Cody Brundage versus Cam Rouston. This is not the biggest favorite on the card, but one of the bigger ones. Let's talk about Brundage first. Brundage is 6 foot, 185, 72 reach. 42 leg reach, orthodox. Doesn't really pressure or feint. Stands up. right in front of you, and then like he doesn't like as I said, he doesn't pressure. So like if he stands in front of you, he's just not really moving. He just moves backwards until he's against the cage, and when he's against the cage, if you start moving forward, then he just puts his head down. And he starts swinging for the fences. His striking defense definitely lacks. He's got hard punches. I will give him that. Like, if you do move too close to him and you're throwing back and forth, and I will say he does have a pretty decent chin for a guy that just stands there and throws sometimes. Um, yeah, he's taken some pretty crazy fights. He fought Bo Nickel at UFC 300, which was not his best showing, but you got to credit him for taking the fight at least. Took him to the second round for Bo to get him down. Uh, he fought Abdul Malik, which was a draw. I remember that being a decision win. I wonder what happened to that, because that was decidedly. Yeah, he was tuning him up at the end of the third round. All right. And then he fought Abdul Razak. Actually, no. This guy's not that good. I thought he was. No, I had him confused with somebody else. Never mind then. Yeah. So, yeah. Cody Brundage is more of just like it's just like the last card with Adam Fugit and Ty Miller. Just kind of a test to see where you are in the UFC. Because Cam Rouston, 6'3", 185, 70-inch, 78-inch reach. Whoa, 6-inch reach advantage. That's a big wingspan. 45 leg reach, so he's got 3 inches there too. So he could just stay measured. He's a great kickboxer. He uses his very active jab, good combos. Uses his feet well too. He's somewhat comfortable on the ground, not very comfortable on the ground. He fought Torres Finney on the Contender Series, and Torres Finney just took him down for 50 minutes, and he just kept trying to get back up. But just with the control time that Torres Finney had and all the takedowns, really, you couldn't not give it to him. But Dana White didn't sign him after that fight, though. He had to come back and win by a knockout or submission, I believe, before he could actually get signed to the UFC. Cam Rouston came back the next time, won by knockout in the first round. I Yes, won by knockout in the first round. Uh, and then his next fight, he won by knockout in the first round also. Yeah, and that was pretty nice. He had a great counter on the guy, just sweeped him on the chin, fell to the ground, dropped right on top of him, put him out. Great win for him, and I definitely see him following it up with something similar. I don't know if it will be a round one knockout because Cody Brundage is a tough dude, but like if he throws like something like a front body kick or a T kick to the sternum and he gets him with the wind down, I could definitely see something like that happening because obviously he is a longer fighter and he can fight from a better range than Cody Brundage can. And then, Cody Brundage, the best thing he can do is just run forward and just pray to God that he gets him on the chin. Sometimes Rouston is a little sloppy, but I if Brundage does connect, I can see Rouston dropping. I do see Rouston throwing from a longer range though, to where that and Heath has a very short, distance on his punches. Like he throws exactly what you would want for a guy that is going to be countering like that. And I just I don't see Brundage coming out on top in this one either. He's just a test. It's just the next level of fighter in the UFC. Like the guy that he fought, Petrosky, is not bad, but he's not great. And obviously, if it's your debut fight, you want to have a good one. So this is just hopefully going to be another good showing for Cam Rouston. Yeah. Up next, we got Junior Tafa versus Billy Elikana. Junior Tafa moving down from heavyweight to light heavyweight. I guess he was having a hard time with the big boys. Yeah, he's got hard punches. Hands are low. Gas is early. susceptible to leg kicks. I will say he always does look for the knockout, and if he does connect, if he hits you right on the mush, you're going down. Um, I will say on the other hand, I've seen him fight a few times now. Nothing I've really seen coming out of him has been very impressive. The first fight I saw was UFC 300, I believe. Yeah, I think it was because he took over for his brother because he got injured with like no fight camp on like 16 days notice or 6 days notice or something. Came in, got chopped up on the legs, and then he just couldn't stand up, and then that was pretty quick. The next fight I saw was him versus Vatan Walker, I believe his name is, or Valton Walker. Um, and that fight, he threw a couple good strikes, but then once he connected a few times, Walker just took him down. And once he took him down, he got him in that heel hook, and then he just started squeezing. And then Junior Taffa screamed, and then once he screamed, the ref stopped the fight. Um, so yeah, he's got no ground game, and he's got some other aspects of his game that makes him kind of a pretty easy target, in my opinion. Not an easy target, but like if you're doing film, like you know what to target on him. So Billy Elicana, on the other hand, he's got good entries, good takedown defense, which I don't even know why I wrote that down because I don't think that that's going to be a question. He can fight anywhere though. He's got very good stand-up game, very comfortable on the ground, good takedowns. He's got good striking defense. He's tough. Stays measured, doesn't rush, accurate punches, good footwork. If he gets you down, great ground and pound. He's got good sub game. He's got a 77-inch reach, which is two inches more than Junior Taffa. Oh my God, what was that? 43 and a half inch leg reach, which is just a little bit more than Junior Taffa, not that much. But he fights southpaw, so you got that jab advantage. So, Junior Taffa is going to be throwing heavy from the right hand, trying to move all the way to the other side where Billy Elicana's body's going to be. So if he just keeps throwing that jab, maybe a leg kick, and maybe a takedown in there, Junior Taffa, I think it's very much leaning towards what Elicana can do well rather than what Junior Taffa can do well. You know, Junior Taffa now has to cut weight, which is going to be much different for him, I believe. I think when you're fighting and you could be 240, that's a much different thing. Like, because you could eat whatever you want in the camp, and all you have to do is just not eat whatever you want, but you can eat you're not cutting weight like these other guys are, and now he is, which I think definitely impacts his gas tank, which was already not the best to begin with, because he only has so many fights in the UFC, and I think he has only so. I think he has only so many fights outside of the UFC before he got signed too. He got signed after his brother got signed. So yeah, I definitely think that this is leaning towards Elicana. If he just watches film and knows to take Junior Taffa down and defend against the right hand and the left hand and the shots to the body and just keep a good range, he will win this fight. That is all he needs to do. He just needs to take him down and hold him there. That's it. Yeah.
Up next, we got Quillian Salkid versus Jamie Mullarkey. Jamie Mullarkey is 6 foot, 156, 74-inch reach with a 39 leg reach. Hands low, slow to return to his face when he throws sometimes. He gets countered. Does really pressure and circles on the outside. Not a lot of output, honestly, as a fighter. Kind of more of a test for Salkid. He's been KO'd 6 times, and 3 out of his last 6 fights have ended in a knockout. He's decent boxing and okay wrestling, but Salkid has 100% takedown defense, and I think hasn't been taken down since one of his fights in Eternal in Australia. Yeah, I don't really. I kind of see this as a lamb to slaughter fight, honestly. Yeah, Salkid, on the other hand, great ground game, great
great game on the feet too. Can submit from the back or on top. What if he's taking you down? Got great hands, quick, accurate kicks, solid ground and pound, active feet. He's 6 foot, 155, 75 inch reach, 42 leg reach. Um, yeah, this is pretty obvious Sal Kid money line. I don't really feel like I have to talk about this for a long time. If this does end up going the opposite way, I would be very surprised. Uh, Short of that, yeah. Um, Up next, after that, we got Tai Tuivasa versus Taliesin Textera. Taliesin Textera, ranked number 15. He is 6'7", 259, 83-inch reach with a 43 leg reach. He's an orthodox fighter. He's constantly pressuring you, and from his range advantage that he has in most of his fights, he can hit you from wherever he's standing. He continuously walks forward, throws great kicks, either to the front of the stomach, to the side, throws them to the head, throws great combos with his hands. Jab is very active. Um, he's a pretty tough fighter, even though he's coming off of a KO loss, and his striking defense isn't terrible. But more than anything, his game is more throwing haymakers and then hitting you just because he can from a certain distance, especially with a fighter like Tai Tuivasa. He can stand from a better range and just pick him apart rather than what Tai Tuivasa has to do. Because like Tai Tuivasa, on the other hand, he's 6'2", so he's 5 inches shorter. 265, 75-inch reach, which is an 8-inch reach disadvantage. 39 and a half leg reach, and he's a southpaw fighter. I think the UFC will probably pop up with a statistic during the broadcast that say that they lose. They always put this up. It says like 67% of the time with a reach disadvantage like this. Um, you know, Tuivasa has lost his last 5 fights. His hands are low. He has quick feet though. He throws pretty good kicks. But he has trouble getting into range against guys like this. Like he fought Volkov, who is just as tall as Teixeira, but has 3 inches less reach, and he was getting picked apart from the outside. But Teixeira he's gonna pressure a lot more than Volkov would, and Tuivasa kind of telegraphs his kicks sometimes or his punches, and then they just throw like a quick counter, catch him on the chin, he drops, and then it's G and P from there. And if it's that category, I'm giving that one to Teixeira. Even if they go against the fence and like one of them pushes forward, they go to the clinch. Like he'll throw one of those elbows that he hit Justin Tafa with, and it's gonna be good night moon in my opinion. So yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards Teixeira, just because of the reach advantage, the jabs that he's going to throw. Before Tuivasa is even going to be able to touch him, he could throw 2 strikes. And as long as he keeps the feet active and tries to keep Tuivasa's movement to a minimum and, throw some good leg kicks, I definitely see this fight going pretty short. Short of a Derek Lewis Hail Mary punch, this fight should be going one way. Yeah. Up next, we got Mauricio Rufy versus Rafael Fiziev. Rufy is the number 14 ranked fighter in the welterweight division. He's 5'11", 156, 75-inch reach. He has a 41 leg reach. Honestly, he fights like Conor McGregor. He's just like a Spanish Conor McGregor, just with a little bit longer arms. He's got great counters, lethal combos, really creative strikes with what he throws. Like you could see in the Bobby Green fight, he kind of like twisted his hips a little bit, and then he saw that Bobby Green kind of moved his head to the left a little bit, but like kept his hands low. And then the next time he was moving his hips was when he was throwing that spinning heel kick, and I think we all know how that went. Um, yeah, he's just like even in the fight against Long Top, he was throwing some crazy strikes, like that no look hook punch he threw, like on the exit after he was throwing, hit the guy right on the chin. The guy dropped. Like he's just a very impressive fighter to watch. He has an extremely high striking IQ, hard punches, good footwork, feints sometimes, but he just waits for opponents to make mistakes, rush in, do something wrong, and then he tries to catch you. He does fight with his hands pretty low, and he does have the best takedown defense, which he displayed in the Benoit Saint Denis fight. Um, on the other hand, Rafael Fiziev, he's the number 9 ranked fighter. He's 5'8", 155 and a half, 71-inch reach, 71 leg reach. He's a switch stance fighter that switches very fluidly throughout the fight. Very smart with the strikes. He fights with a Muay Thai style, so he distributes what he's doing pretty easily, and he's got a very lethal switch stance kick to the midsection, which Benoit Saint Denis threw a shot to the midsection, and it really seemed to bother Rufy. So if Fiziev keeps throwing those and just keeps tattooing like his legs and his body, I definitely see Rufy having he could definitely have a little bit of a rough time with a fighter like Fiziev is. He just goes he's very smart with his strikes, goes leg body, up top. He throws multiple punch combos, switches on some angles, throws very nice strikes. Um, Sometimes he switches stances, and the stance switch he uses to move in and out of his range, and he does it very quickly. His head movement is very, very, very strong. He keeps his hands high, counters well, hard kicks, doesn't rush. Very tough guy. Good strike recognition on what's coming his way, which he displayed in the Baja Mundes fight, and definitely somewhat in the Gaethje fight, in both of the Gaethje fights. He's definitely started to throw some takedowns into his game. So if he puts that on the table against Rufy, and he had some control time, some takedowns, and just some damage on the ground to where that could translate to Rufy just even being more exhausted on the feet, where he could potentially start making mistakes. That would definitely be a very smart thing for him to do with his game plan. Um, and honestly, that's kind of why I believe that Fiziev is going to end up winning this fight. Rufy, he's an extremely good fighter, but he excels against bad fighters. Well, not bad fighters, but not great fighters and sloppy fighters, which Fiziev is not. King Green, very sloppy fighter. Um, Long top, sloppy. Malarkey, that was kind of a very lopsided match to begin with. Um, you know, he's definitely deserving of a ranking, but I don't know if he's gonna jump over Fiziev and keep moving up in the rankings. It's just I think this one is a little bit too hard of a matchup for him. So I don't know what the odds are on this one live, but I feel like Fiziev is going to be an underdog, so I would definitely take the underdog in this one. In another tough fight after this is Benoit Saint Denis versus Dan Hooker. Benoit Saint Denis being the number 8 ranked fighter, the God of War, as they call him. 5'11", 155 and a half pounds, 73-inch reach with the arms, 40 leg reach. He's a southpaw fighter. He's got very good takedowns, good transitions, always looking for a sub, and got a very strong sub game. Definitely tries to tire you out and then finds his opening for whatever he's going to do, whether it be damage with his hands or, trying to choke you out. Um, with his striking, it's definitely a strong aspect of his. He stays measured. His defense does lack sometimes, which definitely was displayed in the Poirier fight, and honestly, which I saw in one of his other fights that he had right after the Poirier fight, right after the Moicano fight, which he lost. Which also he had some bad takedown defense, and then he just got overwhelmed in the first round, and he was throwing those crazy elbows, and then it was just game over from there. But he's very good at feigning takedowns, keeps moving up and down, level changing. He's got good dirty boxing, good ground and pound. I will say he can get wobbled. He did get knocked out by Poirier, and he's gotten stunned a few times in his other fights. Not like, he doesn't go down, but like it's like he gets wobbled a little bit, And against he gets wobbled a little bit. And against a fighter like Dan Hooker, if you get wobbled a little bit, he will just keep continuously pressing against you. Yeah, like Dan Hooker, he's the number six ranked fighter. 6 foot, 155, 75 inch reach, 42 and a half leg reach. He is a switch stance fighter. He does like a kickboxing style, so he just kind of walks forward, keeps hammering you with kicks, pressure. He's an absolute freaking warrior. Like he's stood in the octagon for some of the craziest battles and come out the other side, which with some crazy injuries. Like he broke his arm in the octagon one time and then just continued to fight for the. I think he broke it in like the first round, and he continued to fight for the rest of the time he was in it. I believe it was against Jalen Turner. He's got pretty good takedown defense, but it's really his hands and his pressure. It's just extremely overwhelming. He just puts a beating on you if you let him. And he had a fight against Gamrot the last time, which is a very takedown heavy guy. Well, not the last time. The last time against Armand, but Armand broke his nose in the weigh-ins because he headbutted him. So I kind of, when you're walking into that with something, when you can't breathe between from your nose and you have to start out the fight already breathing through your mouth, like it's already a bad start. Your opponent has an advantage there, but obviously he doesn't have any problems like that this fight. But yeah, against Gamrot, he was susceptible to the takedown initially, but then there was a few strikes that he hit him with, and the guy just hasn't been hit with something like that in a while, I would believe, and just kept putting that pressure on him, kept throwing those strikes, kept wobbling him. Even when the guy would take him down, he would fight extremely hard to get back up. And I just see if Dan Hooker hits Benoit Saint Denis with something, I see Benoit Saint Denis dropping. I just don't see you know, I see a lot of similarities in the punching power between Poirier and Hooker. So if BFD gets him down and holds him down, I see and gets a submission. I see I could definitely see that happening. But if Dan Hooker does a good job of scrambling, getting back up to the feet, and then it's just it's kind of it's a stand up match, I give that edge to Hooker. So with this, it's kind of tough. Coming off of the loss that he had with Armand, I would believe that Hooker would be pretty pissed off. And he's just an absolute animal. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Hooker on that one. That one's tough. I do respect what BSD brings to the table. He is, he does live up to the reputation of the God of War, but Dan Hooker is war in the UFC. Like that is what that guy brings every single time he steps into the octagon. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go Hooker on that one. Oof, we'll see. We shall see on that. That was, he had, I'm not. I can't talk myself out of that. So I'm just gonna leave it there. Yeah. So next fight, the main event: Diego Lopez versus Alexander Volkanovski 2. Um, I'm trying to think if I should comment on their first fight first or just the fighters individually. I'll do a little bit of both. All right, Diego Lopez, number 2 ranked, 5'11", 146, 72-inch reach, 72 and a half, 41-inch leg reach, orthodox fighter, just a complete brawler. He has a very good submission game, don't get me wrong, and has a good gas tank, as he proved in the first fight. He went 25 minutes with Volk. But he is good boxing. Not great boxing because he wasn't throwing a lot of combos, but he was throwing some very powerful punches during that first fight that caught Volk. And towards the end of the fight, the tides were definitely, I would say if they had another round, the momentum was definitely leaning towards, Lopez. And obviously, not obviously, but some people would consider this fight beginning with round 6. So we'll see what happens with Lopez. As long as he doesn't, in the first fight, he didn't take the first 2 rounds off, but it was more like he was testing the waters a little bit. And then he got a knockdown at the end of the second round. And then once he got that, he got all the confidence in the world, and he just started walking him down. And the problem in the first fight was Volk was out punching him like 2-1. Like he would keep throwing the jab and keep moving and just keep touching him up, and then Lopez was just waiting for his shots. So it's it's a little tough to rate it because like Lopez is a guy that wants you to bring the rain. He wants you to walk straight towards him and just throw hammers. And as long as he works his game plan a little bit differently, like he did in the John Silva fight, where he took him down in the first round and just got some great damage, and then in the second round, John Silva tried to turn it up a little bit, but already had like a little bit of damage towards him. So once he started throwing those crazy elbows, and then Lopez was backing up, I think because he was a little wobbled, and he threw that spinning elbow. It was right on the spot where he was doing all the elbows in the first round when he was on top of him on the ground, and it just split him right open. And just right there, that's a beautiful fight. That's exactly what you want. That was a top to bottom, just all out great showing from Diego Lopez. Volkanovski, on the other hand, he is a champ's champ. Like you're not going to say that he's the greatest of all time because obviously most people would, and it's rightfully so, would give that to John Jones, but he is definitely one of the greatest. Smaller weights. Along with Demetrius Johnson and those guys, he's just an absolute freaking monster. He's got great movement, cuts in and out, quick entries with his strikes, great combos. He's just a great technical fighter all over the place. He does everything well. He's 5 inches shorter than Diego Lopez, being 5'6", but he only has a 1 inch reach disadvantage, being like that much shorter. So like, even though he has to cut in to like do his work, he can still get into a comfortable range where he can get back out of, which he did do in the first fight. That's why he ended up winning that first one. But yeah, I'm gonna have to give this. Oh, I'm gonna give this one to Lopez personally. I think that even though Volk won his, like, he won the belt, and he did history and he did great things. I just personally see Diego Lopez hitting him with something earlier, or just putting on the pressure earlier, to where it would be something closer towards the end of the first fight rather than the beginning of the first fight, where Volk just continuously circled and walked him down. Also, you got film to watch now, so I wouldn't be surprised if Volk does the same thing he did in the first fight. He is 37 now, and there was a few times in the first fight where he was very close to dropping. So that's why I'm leaning towards that. It's no, it really is no disrespect, because I wouldn't be surprised if Volkanovski does win. It's just I just I just have a feeling that Lopez is gonna hit him with that. Yeah, that 3-piece combo with a soda, and yeah, that'll be it. So yeah, those are my picks for UFC 325. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it, and like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, or if you enjoy the picks, and I will keep doing as best a job as I can. Yeah, thank you very much. This is the Knockout Nut signing off.